Alrighty, wrestling fans, how's everybody doing out there? You know, it's been a while, and I'm here today to just talk about a friend of mine, to kind of just bring back some memories and just do this in honor of, I would say, the biggest heat stealer that I've ever known in my life. His name is Jonny Hollywood. I would say not more than about a week ago, you know, Jonny had basically just hung himself, and it's really, man, nobody knows why. But, you know, Jonny was the kind of guy that you either loved him or you hated him. And, you know what, I've known him for almost 15, 16 years. And, you know, I can say that I had honestly just loved the guy like a brother. I mean, no, Jonny wasn't always the most pleasant person to be around. But, you know, Jonny was fun to be around. And, you know what, you never know what was going to come out of his mouth. And you never know what he was going to do. And so today with us, we have some people here that'll just tell some stories about him. And you know what, just have a good time because, you know, man, most of you guys know, you know, I'm a preacher and I've done many funerals. And at all of the funerals that I do, I like to have people just talk about memories because that's what life is. It's all about, you know, what the memory that you leave. And I mean, like I said, you know, if you loved him or you hated him, he actually left a memory with you. And so, you know what, that's important. I mean, everyone's got a story. Some of us will have to kind of clean up the story in order to tell it, but every story needs to be told because that was the life he led. And so over the next 20, 30 minutes, if it goes longer than that, you know, over the next hour, I just hope that everybody really gets to know Jonny like he really was, because see, some people would meet him for 20 minutes and not really get to know him, but Jonny was exactly what he was. I mean, you know, man, it was cut and dry. So it'll be tough for me because, I mean, I've spent a lot of time with the guy, and I will tell you this, I'm going to really miss him. So if I kind of tear up a little bit, you know, I mean, that's just part of it, but you know, this segment is all about Jonny. It isn't about anybody else. It's not about me. If it was about me, he'd be right here stealing the heat from me. I guarantee it. So, you know, I mean, that's him. You know, he had the biggest ego I've ever known in my life. And, you know, Jonny always got me in trouble. And that's, you know, that was one of the bad things. I remember one time when I was doing a radio show. It was on, I believe, TK 101. And I made the mistake of asking him to basically come along with me. And so I was on and I was just talking about all of the shows that I've got coming up. And back in those days, I did have a problem, or somebody, I would say, just had a problem with me, with a certain family of wrestling around this area. Well, Jonny didn't like them either, but I would have never talked about them on the radio. But he did. And he started talking about him and started dogging on him. And of course, since he was with me, they all assumed that I was the one doing it. So I just got a lot of visits after that from a certain, I would say, bigger wrestlers in the business. There was another time whenever we were doing an actual TV show, and it was a talk show. And I don't know why, but I asked Jonny to be with me on the talk show. The thing with Jonny is, you know what, you never know what's going to come out of his mouth. You don't, I mean, at any given time, you never know. And he started telling a story that was not true about one of these certain wrestlers in the area. And, of course, since it was my show, and since I was the host of the show, of course, it was my fault. So they came to me. But that was Jonny, though. He would cause the trouble, but he was never there to clean it up. But you know, I mean, you know, if you have a good friend like that, then you overlook stuff like that. If you knew Jonny, he was fighting a lot of demons. There's a lot of demons in that boy's life. You know, Jonny back in the day was a big rock star. And you know what, Jonny got, I guess, asked to just leave the band, and that never really sat. Let's see, it actually never really sat with him. You know, the band was called Enough's Enough, and they were big back in the 80s. And yet Jonny was a real good drummer, and that was something that nobody really ever knew. But Jonny was an 80s guy, if you couldn't tell. I mean, all of his dress that, you know, all of his clothes he wore was 80s stuff. But that's what he loved. And, you know, Jonny lived basically what he loved. And I mean, you know, Johnny was all out. He was 100% at everything he did. Something that I want everybody to know is that Johnny would, I would say, had the biggest heart of anybody that I've ever met in my life. If he only had $10 on him and he saw somebody that was on the street, you know, Johnny would give them, I would say, like his last dollar. Now, I don't mean the hookers. I mean, you know, Johnny would find somebody that actually really needed the money. Johnny also loved the hookers too, but Johnny would find somebody, you know, that was homeless, and he would give them his last dime. Let's see, I saw Johnny do that a bunch of times. You know, Johnny would go out of his way in order, you know, just help people that were just less fortunate than him. You know, Johnny loved people. Something else about Johnny was that Johnny never judged anybody. Never. I don't care who you were. Johnny never judged anybody. And, you know, I would say that over, 15 years, you know, I got to see a side of Johnny that nobody ever saw. And, you know, Johnny was just Johnny was a good person. Stories, I've got a ton of stories about him. Took him on the road with me one time. We were leaving to go do some shows. It was up north, and at about 6 in the morning when he showed up, there was some guy who actually got out of the car with him. Some big bearded guy. I mean, this guy actually looked like a terrorist. He was a big old guy. And yet Johnny said that it was his best friend that actually just got out of prison yesterday. And so, you know, Johnny wanted to, you know, just take him on the road with us. And this guy didn't talk much. And so I had got to just travel down the road with a guy that just got out of prison. So, I mean, you know, that was a fun time. Just, you know, it's just stuff like that. You know, Johnny was Johnny. And so I'm going to stop talking here in just a minute, and I'm going to we'll just let other people, just talk about him, and, you know, just hopefully, you know, what you will get to know Johnny like I knew Johnny. So, I think we're going to just take a break, and then we'll just come back with some more people. All right? Thanks. Well, we're back. I'm sitting here with somebody that I never thought I'd ever be sitting next to, but I've had a lot of fun with him, though. You know, this is Gargoyle. Gargoyle has probably known Johnny for, about how long?
Since the PWA days.
Really? That's right. You know, you go way back with him, too, then.
Before I wore the mask and started acting like a doofus, but well, yeah.
You know what, I think the mask is a lot better look for you. You know what, you are like a lot easier to look at with the mask on. So, you know what, all of us do appreciate that.
So I am told.
But, look, you know why? All right, look, man, you know what, all of us are here, you know, just for Johnny. So, if there's any stories, if there's anything that you want to just tell about Johnny, feel free. You know, just remember that there is a lot of age groups out there that'll be watching this.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I know that any Johnny story is, you know, subject to change at like any moment. So
subject to editing.
Subject to editing. There you go. So I'll just give it over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Once again, it is my privilege and honor to be sitting next to you, you know, here and talking about Jonny Hollywood, illustrious manager of the Black Sheep. He was a rocker. He was a roller. He was an out-of controller. You know, a guy that would always bring something to the show. Whether you liked him or not, he was entertaining. If he was your friend, at least from my perspective, you know, I didn't know him as well as you do, but every time I had any dealings with him, he was always great to me, treated me like I was his brother, entertaining kind of guy, you know. I've done some beer swilling and, you know, some other, shall we say, inappropriate activities, visiting various clubs, so to speak, or whatever with Johnny. Was always a good dude. I liked him. You know, he could bring something to the show, and, you know, guys like that are hard to find. You know, to get the right manager, and sadly, managers are lacking in wrestling today, in my opinion, whether it's in the indie level or in the big leagues, however you want to say it. Johnny was one of those guys that could actually bring something to the show.
Absolutely. I mean, like, he always knew that it was about entertainment, and it was about just getting that pop. And as long as he got that pop, he would do anything to get it.
He would, and he was a heat stealer too, man. He could suck it off you like a fire extinguisher, man.
Yes, he could. I made a lot of people mad about that. You know what? If the match wasn't going so well, you know what, Johnny could tell. And so if everybody got down in the crowd, everybody would, all of the workers would get mad at him. But if the match wasn't going so well, he would go out there and actually pick the crowd up.
Exactly. He did his job. He knew, like you said, if sometimes, you got a good match going, you hit a dead spot or something.
He was right there.
Right there to pick it up, to get the tempo going, to get the crowd back into the match. And there are not a lot of guys that have that quality, to bring that aspect to the show. And as far as managers go along the Gulf Coast, he was one of the best. He was not my close personal friend. I'm not going to sit up here and BS anybody or whatever. But every time I had dealings with him, he was up front with me, treated me like a good guy, like a friend, like a brother. I drank some beer with him. I hung out with him. I enjoyed watching him perform. He will be sadly missed amongst the Gulf Coast wrestling community, in my personal opinion. And all I could say is, Johnny, love you, brother. Rest in peace. You will be missed. And, keep on rocking up there in the sky, man, because you're one of a kind.
Amen. All right, man. You know what? It's always a pleasure to be with you. This is probably my, second or third time doing this. Never thought, after all the stuff we actually made, all the stuff we went through.
Yes, sir.
But you know what? I've always had fun with you.
You taught me a lot. You taught me a lesson. Something I needed to learn was a lesson in humility. And I'm man enough to admit, when you're right, you're right. When you're wrong, you're wrong. And when I was wrong, you helped teach me that lesson in humility. I'm a better person for it.
And if you can't make fun of your friends, then,
Or of yourself.
Of yourself, there you go.
And like I said, for that, I thank you. It's great to be back here hanging out with you, with Mr. Internet, with Alexiandra Page, man. It feels like a part of me has came home. And I'm really glad.
It's for a good cause.
Yes. And that's the main thing. This is not about me or any reunions or any crap like that. This is about Jonny Hollywood, a guy who gave his time, his passion, his love for the wrestling business amongst the Gulf Coast community to be recognized for what he contributed. So
that's it.
Like I said, Johnny, man, love you, brother. You'll be missed. Rest in peace. Keep on rocking in the sky, man.
Alrighty, guys. Well, in the next couple of minutes, we'll be right back. All right. Well, we're back, and I'm here with another good friend of mine. Everybody knows him as Chief Iron Claw. Eddie, man, we go way back, but you know what? This isn't about us. This is about somebody else. And so, I know, what you've got stories about him, and I'm going to just turn it over to you and let you just tell stories about Jonny Hollywood.
Well, Bobby, wrestling, you got the good guys and the bad guys, and it's you hate to say it, it's a show. I always called it an event, but it is a show. It's entertainment. Johnny, he wanted to be so much of a part of it. He was a show, wasn't he? Yeah, he wanted to be so much into entertainment. But my experiences with Johnny when we was running Loxley with Planet Wrestling, one month he's there to help you set up the ring and do everything, and the next month you can't find him. Mm-hmm. But when he was there, he was a lot of help, and
he was big help when he was there.
Yeah, I remember that one night we had our little shenanigans going on in there, and remember I'd pick him up and slam him or stomp his fingers. And remember, he would oversell it, but the people just eat it up. And Bobby, he eat it up just as much as the fans did. Yeah. He loved the attention.
He did.
But on a sober note, that everybody has demons, and Johnny was no different than anybody else. And
that's true.
It's just unfortunate at such a young age he's no longer here. But yeah, I've always, and I scolded him, and I know
all of us did, because he was one of us.
Yeah, I know you was really involved with him in his personal life and in his endeavors and his trials and tribulations he was going through, and I know you worked real hard with him, And what can you say? I mean,
No, I mean, it's hard. You know what? I'm angry about what he did, but I'm also going to miss him because even though, you know, he would take me off on a daily basis, you know, he was like a brother to me.
oh yeah, I mean, and when you called me last Saturday and told me I was just, you know, words can't describe it. I mean,
No.
we lose so many people in this business, you
Yeah.
know, and you know, this guy did this guy did that. I mean, a loss is a loss regardless.
Right.
I mean, I really don't care how or why they're gone, but they're gone. I mean, the bottom line, they're gone. And
Right.
you know, Bobby, God has a plan for everybody, and you should know the.
Well, that's something else about Johnny too, is that I was going to just talk about this at the end, but I spent many years just talking to Johnny about salvation and about Jesus, and you know, the sad thing, and I'm going to just tell you this flat out because it really just breaks my heart more than anything, was that Johnny, as I would say, like as far as I know, you know, never accepted Christ. And it was, you know, Johnny always said that basically he is his own God. And you know what, Johnny's last words to this other guy that I know was that, let's see, what was that? I'm like, he said, you know, man, my God failed me. And that's what he said. And, you know, and yet then he did what he did. It's, you know, it's sad. And, you know, that breaks my heart because, I mean, you know what, you can just try and try and try.
Well, you know, God answers you with your prayers at His time, not your time.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, God don't fail you. I mean, we fail God a lot of times, but that's what the blood of the cross is about. But, you know, God answers you in His own time. But, you know, Johnny, he's going to be missed. He was a fun guy. He was a fun-loving guy. And,
you know what, you don't ever know what, I mean, you know what, I mean, Johnny would come around and you never knew what was going to happen, did you? Never.
What I used to love when we was doing Loxley, I would find an old beer that had been out in my shed or something, and it was rusty on the top.
Yeah.
And I'd put it in my cooler with no
Yeah.
ice, and I'd say, hey, Johnny, there's a beer out in my cooler. And he'd run out there, and he'd come back, and he goes, it's rusty, and it's hot. I said, did you drink it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like he was appalled that you would even put something in your cooler like that, but he'd drink it. And he was a fun-loving guy. I mean, that's all you can say. I mean, and it was a lot of times it was funny when you was trying to cut a promo, he would interrupt you. And
He
you
would
look
take
at
the
him.
microphone right away from you, right in the middle of a, you know, because he would come up with something to say, and I mean, like, he knew that if he didn't say it right then he was going to forget it.
Oh, he was. Yeah, he had to say it. I mean, that used to tickle me to death.
Yeah.
He just grabbed him.
You know, just the looks I would give him, right?
You're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there was times when I would beat him down myself, you know, just because.
Yeah, he would. I mean, he couldn't wait. If he had a little one-liner, he couldn't wait.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But he, you know, I'm sure there's a few more people that's got a few things to say tonight.
I mean, this is about him tonight. You know what? If there's one thing that you're going to remember, I would say, like, about Johnny, okay? What is it? What's the one thing that you'll always remember?
Johnny is, you could get on to him about something, and he's like, I won't do it again. And 10 minutes later, he's doing it again. You know, and he, when he was involved with it, he was involved, you know, 100%. It wasn't 30%. It wasn't 40%. I mean, he was there 100% when he was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm deeply saddened in any time that, you know, and this, you know, the independent wrestlers out there listening to us tonight, is, you know, you get to a point you need somebody to talk to. You can always call Bobby. You can call me. I mean, even though we're not involved with it no more, we still like to hear from y'all. And if you have a problem, we'd be glad to talk to you, regardless of what a lot of people think about us. We're not jerks, you know. So
really,
that's, you know,
that's what they say. You know what, man, Jen thinks I'm a jerk. So, yeah.
Well, we know you voted for Obama again this year.
Oh yeah, here we go. We're gonna bring that up again. That is false. Very, very false.
Well, you know, at the hunting camp this year, you had Obama stickers on the back of your car.
Well, I also had my Jonny Hollywood sticker too.
Yeah, you had your Jonny Hollywood sticker. All right,
Well,
let's, you know, let some of these other guys come in and say their piece.
okay. Well, man, you know what? It was good having you here.
All right, Bobby.
All right, brother.
Take care.
We'll be right back.